The night my own sister told me there was no seat for me at her table was the night something inside me finally broke. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I didn't cause a scene. I just stood there, with my heart pounding so loud it drowned out the music, while a room full of people watched me like I was some stranger who had wandered into the wrong party. My name is Lena, and this is the story of how my sister, Claire, pushed me out of the family circle, and how I quietly, calmly, and very intentionally pushed back. It started at this fancy rooftop restaurant downtown, the kind of place with big glass windows, fake plants everywhere, candles on every table, and drinks that cost more than a week of groceries. The whole city was spread out below us in lights, and some soft jazz music floated in the background, trying to convince everyone they were richer than they really were. It was Claire's night, her family and close friends' celebration dinner. Her new house, her new business connections, her new husband. Everything about the night was designed to say one thing. We made it. We're special. Her name was on the printed menus. There were tiny thank you for coming cards with their initials. She'd planned a little speech. She'd chosen the guest list carefully enough that somehow I didn't really fit. I walked in a little late because I'd come straight from work. My feet hurt from standing all day. I was still in my plain navy blazer and scuffed shoes. I paused just inside the main doors and spotted her across the room. She looked perfect. Sparkling dress, hair curled and smooth, lipstick just right, laughing like she was the star of her own movie. My older sister, the girl who used to braid my hair on the front steps of our tiny childhood house. The same girl who, somewhere along the way, decided that I didn't really match the image she wanted anymore. Her eyes met mine. For half a second, something flickered there. Recognition, tension. Then she pulled a bright smile over her face like a mask and walked toward me with her arms open. "Lena," she said, giving me a hug that barely touched me. "You came." "Yeah," I said. "You invited me, remember?" She laughed like I'd made a cute little joke. Of course I did." Behind her, I could see the long table. White tablecloth, wine glasses, plates already set, candles burning, people seated and chatting. My parents, Eric, his parents, some of her friends from work, a couple of neighbors, a few people I didn't even know. I scanned along the table looking for my name card. I didn't see it. At first, I told myself I must have missed it. Maybe it slid under a napkin. Maybe it was on the other side. Maybe... "I'm sorry, Lena." Claire's voice cut through my thoughts, a little too bright. "We actually don't have a seat for you." The words didn't land at first. It was like she was speaking a different language. "What?" I blinked. She lowered her voice half an inch, just enough to make it look like she was being discreet, but not enough that other people couldn't hear. "We had to finalize the seating earlier," she said. "The restaurant doesn't allow extra chairs. It's a fixed head count. You didn't RSVP in time." My chest tightened. "I did," I said. "I texted you. I asked if I could come after work. You wrote, 'Sure, if you want.'" She gave that little shrug I knew too well. The shrug that meant, "Don't make a scene. Don't embarrass me." "Yeah, but we had to confirm numbers," she said. "I wasn't sure you were serious, and, this dinner is mainly for family and people who have been very involved recently." My eyes swept the table again. My mom, my dad, her husband, his cousin, her old roommate, her boss. Mainly for family. I heard someone clear their throat. My dad shifted in his chair, looked down at his hands. My mom mouthed, "We'll talk later." But she didn't stand up. No one said, "We'll make room." No one stood and said, "She's family, we'll squeeze her in." No one did anything. "So, what am I supposed to do?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from shaking. Claire tilted her head, her face soft with that fake concern she put on for an audience. "There's a small bar area over there," she said, gesturing to the corner. "You can hang out there if you want. I'll come say hi between courses." It hit me then, sharp and cold. I wasn't a guest. I was an afterthought, a spectator. Standing there in my worn shoes and cheap blazer, I realized she hadn't really invited me. She'd just given me permission to stand on the sidelines. "I see," I said slowly. "Right, no seat. Got it." Her lips curled into a sugary smile. "You understand. The restaurant is very strict. It's out of my hands." Out of her hands. Sure. I could feel the heat crawling up my neck. The clinking of glasses, the chattering voices, the soft music. It all blurred together. My humiliation was its own sound, loud and deafening inside my head. "I'm just going to sit over there," I muttered. I walked to the bar area. It was just a little corner with a few high stools. No table, no plate, just a view of their whole celebration. The bartender gave me a sympathetic look. "Can I get you something?" "Water," I said. "Just water." I sat there, pretending to scroll through my phone so I wouldn't cry. From my little corner, I could hear when Claire stood up to make her toast. Her voice carried easily across the rooftop. "To family," she said, glass raised high. "To everyone who stood by us and believed in us." Everyone at the table lifted their glasses and clinked them together. I just sat there, holding my water. No glass, no plate, no chair, no place. "To family," I repeated in my head. To everyone who stood by us. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The shame and hurt started to cool into something harder. Something that wasn't just sadness anymore. Because if that was what family meant to her now, then when it was my turn to decide who counted as family in my life, I knew exactly what I was going to do. If you had seen us as kids, you would never think we'd end up here. Growing up, Claire and I were like a cliché picture. Big sister, little sister. She was 4 years older, always in charge. I followed her everywhere. If she liked a song, I liked it. If she said a TV character was annoying, suddenly I agreed. She set the rules. I just tried to keep up. We grew up in a small house at the edge of town. We weren't starving, but we were never comfortable. Dad took every overtime shift he could get. Mom worked nights at the hospital. Most evenings, it was just the two of us curled up in the living room with the TV glowing. I remember sitting on the ugly old carpet watching movies while Claire braided my hair. She would point at the characters like they were examples from a textbook. "Don't be like her," she'd say about the girl who forgave too easily. "See? That's what happens when you're too nice," she'd mutter whenever someone on screen got betrayed. Even as kids, she hated looking weak. She hated the idea of being the one left out, the one fooled. She was always planning 10 steps ahead, even if it was just over who got the last cookie. When I was scared of the dark, she'd roll her eyes, but she'd drag her blanket into my room anyway and sleep on the floor. When she made instant noodles, she'd split it and act like I should be forever grateful. "Say thank you," she'd insist. "Thank you," I'd mumble, legs swinging off the side of the bed. We fought, like all siblings do, over little things, clothes, TV, who took the last slice of pizza. But every time, we'd end up back on the same side. We were a unit. That's what I believed anyway. But somewhere along the way, that unit shifted. Big sister, little sister turned into queen of the house and an extra. It started in high school. Claire was the star, cheer team, top of her class. Teachers adored her. Parents bragged about her. She had the shiny hair, the nice clothes, the perfect grades. People moved out of her way in the halls. Me? I was just Claire's little sister. I was quieter. I liked drawing. I was the kid in the library during lunch. I didn't make waves. I didn't stand out. I just existed in the blurry space behind her spotlight. At home, it became a pattern that nobody really questioned. If there was one cookie left, it went to Claire. If only one of us could go on a school trip, it went to Claire. If there was a choice between her needs and mine, she was the priority. I told myself I didn't mind. I loved her. She was older. "She's got so much pressure on her," Mom would say. "Be supportive, okay?" So I did. I turned down my music when she needed quiet. I gave up the better desk for her laptop. I let her borrow my stuff and never bring it back. Support slowly became something else. It turned into habit, then expectation, then entitlement. By the time she went off to college, she came back on weekends and acted like she was visiting from some higher world. She'd sweep in, criticize my clothes, my grades, my friends. She talked about her classes and internships like everything she did was 10 levels above anything I could ever touch. "Art? Really?" she said once, flipping through my sketchbook. "You know that's not a real career path, right?" I'd laughed weakly. "I mean, some people make it." "Some," she said. "But not most. You should be more realistic." We argued a little. I tried to push back, but I always backed down. She was the success story. I was the one who hadn't figured it out yet. When she graduated and got a job in the city, she became the family's pride, the first to get a real corporate job. Our parents couldn't stop talking about her. "Claire says this. Claire knows about that. Claire might help us with the mortgage. I sat at the same table, eating the same food, listening to everyone orbit around her name. Ask your sister for advice, Mom would say. So I did at first. I tried. Claire, what do you think about community college? I'd asked one night. She'd smiled in that way that wasn't really a smile. Sure, if you like wasting time. I mean, it's what I can afford. Don't limit yourself, she cut in. Aim higher, or don't aim at all. It was like that with everything. Her way, her standards, her rules. And if you couldn't keep up, well, that was your problem. When she started dating Eric, it was like she'd won a prize. He had money. Not billionaire money, but comfortable, stable, above our level money. His family owned a chain of hardware and home stores. He grew up in a bigger house. He knew things like investments and returns and equity. The first time I met him, he shook my hand and said, "So you're the little sister I've heard so much about." I waited for Claire to say something nice about me. She didn't. She still doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, she said, laughing, as if I wasn't right there. He gave me a polite nod and moved on. I became part of the background again, the quiet sibling, the one who hadn't found her path. Life moved forward. I got a job at a home goods store, stocking shelves, talking to customers, cleaning up spills, dealing with people who treated me like a machine. It wasn't some dream job, but it was honest. It was mine, my paycheck, my effort, my time. While she climbed ladders and traveled for work, I learned how to stand on my feet for 8 hours and still smile at the end of the day. Then one day, something changed. Our store announced a new department being created, Home and Lifestyle Partnerships. It meant handling discounts for new homeowners, arranging home setup packages, coordinating with developers, and setting up special deals. It was more responsibility. It came with a raise. It required patience, attention to detail, and good communication. They were looking for people who understood both the store and the customers. My manager pulled me aside. "You should apply," he said. "You're good with people. You know this place inside out." I was shocked, but I applied. I stayed up late reading about customer service beyond the register. I practiced interview questions. I talked myself out of backing down 100 times. A week later, my manager called me into his office. "You got it," he said. "You start training next month." I walked home that day taller than I'd ever felt. It wasn't a massive, glamorous job, but it was a step up, a recognition that I was worth more than just stocking shelves. I decided to share the news at Sunday dinner. We were all sitting around the table. Mom made roast chicken. Dad was in good spirits. Claire and Eric had dropped by in between some house meeting and a wine tasting. I cleared my throat. "I have some news." "Good news?" Mom asked hopefully. "Yeah," I smiled. "I got promoted. I'll be working in the Home and Lifestyle Partnerships department, helping people with their home setups, packages, discounts, that kind of thing. It comes with a raise and benefits." Dad smiled. "That's great, honey." Eric nodded. "That sounds useful. Everyone needs that when moving." I turned to Claire, waiting. For a second I saw it. Surprise. Then her face cooled. "That's nice," she said. Just that. Nice. I pushed on. "I'll be working with developers, and we're going to be the ones approving special deals and just don't get too comfortable," she cut in. My smile faded. "What do you mean?" "Retail is unstable," she said, like she was explaining something obvious. "You should still think about something bigger, long term. You're almost 24, Lena. Time goes fast." There it was again. That tone, that subtle way of saying whatever you're proud of is just small. "I am thinking long term," I said quietly. "This is a step. It matters to me." She shrugged. "I'm just saying don't settle." Something inside me snapped a little. "You never just say congratulations, do you?" I asked, my voice shaking. "It always has to come with a warning or a lecture or a reminder that whatever I'm doing isn't good enough." The table went silent. Mom scolded me with her eyes. Dad avoided looking at either of us. "You're being dramatic," Claire said. "I'm trying to push you to do better. That's what big sisters do." "Sometimes," I said, "big sisters are supposed to just be happy for you." She scoffed softly and focused on her plate. It was in that moment that I realized something important. I could do everything right and it would never be enough for her. And for the first time, I felt something in me let go of the need for her approval. Not long after that, she called me. "Hey," she said. "You're working in that home setup department now, right?" "Yeah," I said. "Why?" "Well," she said, her voice casual, "Eric and I finally bought the new house. It's bigger, more modern, so we want it done right. I figured you could hook us up." "Hook you up," I repeated. "Yeah," she said. "Family discount, extra deals, priority, all that. I'm sure you can pull some strings now." In my new position, I did have access to certain programs. One of them was a boss family and staffer package, special discounts for employees and their immediate households. It was meant for the people we lived with, supported, shared bills with, the people who actually did life with us. If I used it for them on a large scale, it would be bending the rules. Risky, traceable. "I'll have to check what's allowed," I said carefully. She scoffed. "Lena, come on, it's me, your sister. Don't be difficult." "No," I said slowly but clearly. "It's my job. I'm not risking it because you want a cheaper couch. I'll see what I can do, within policy, and let you know." "Wow," she said. "Someone's changed." "Maybe I finally stopped acting like a doormat," I replied. She hung up on me. It was the first time I'd ever told her no. By the time that rooftop dinner happened, things between us were cold. We hadn't actually fought again, but we hadn't really talked either. She sent me photos of her house. No, "How are you?" Just, "Look what we picked for the kitchen," or, "Do you think this wall color is too much?" I stayed polite and distant. I focused on work. I learned how to talk to developers, how to schedule deliveries, how to offer discounts without giving away the whole store. I started to feel like a real professional, not just someone in the background. Then came her text about the celebration dinner. "Family dinner next Saturday. Rooftop celebration. You can come if you want. 7 p.m. If you want. Not please come. Not it would mean a lot. Just if you want." I stared at it for a while. Part of me wanted to say no. To protect myself. To stay home and avoid the show. Another part of me didn't want to hand her that narrative. That I was too sensitive or jealous to support her. So I texted back, "I'll come after work." She replied with a thumbs up emoji. That was it. You already know how the dinner went. How she told me there was no seat for me. How I watched her toast to family from the bar like I was a stranger. What I haven't told you yet is what happened when I got home. I sat on my couch in the dark, still in my work clothes, my feet throbbing. My phone buzzed with a message from Mom. "I'm sorry about tonight. Claire didn't mean it like that." Didn't mean it like that. How else could she mean it? I didn't reply. I just stared at the coffee table. Then my eyes fell on my work bag. I remembered the folder my manager had given me a few days earlier. A new partnership lead. A chain looking to collaborate with us. I'd glanced at the name then, but I was so busy, I hadn't really processed it. Dalton Hardware and Home. I grabbed the folder and flipped it open with shaking hands. There it was, printed in bold letters. Owner, Eric Dalton. The same name as my brother-in-law. There was a note from our regional manager scribbled on the side. Owner asking about family and staff level discounts. Says there's family and management on our end. Verify claims. Family and management. I sat back slowly, letting the irony hit me. On that rooftop, I wasn't family enough to have a chair. But in this file, in this negotiation, suddenly I was family again. Convenient, useful, profitable family. That was when I decided something very simple. I wasn't going to sabotage them. I wasn't going to lie or cheat or ruin the deal. That's not who I am. But I also wasn't going to twist the rules or risk my job for people who only remembered I existed when it helped their bank account. If they wanted to know what family meant to me now, I was going to show them. A few days later, we had the partnership call. I sat in my small office at work, headset on, folder in front of me. My manager, Tom, had already warned me. "They're asking for a lot," he said. "They think they can get our highest discount plus special treatment. They're pushing the family angle. But we have to stick to policy, no side doors. That's why I want you on this." "You're solid." At 3 o'clock, I dialed in. "Hello, this is Lena from Home and Lifestyle Partnerships," I said. "Who's joining us from Dalton Hardware and Home today?" There was a click, then his voice. "Hi, Lena, this is Eric Dalton. Thanks for taking the time." Hearing him like that, in a business context, not at a family table, was strange. He sounded formal, polished, confident. We did the whole business small talk thing first. Market trends, customer demand. He talked about his expansion plans. We talked about our packages. Very normal, very professional. Then he got to the real point. To be fully transparent, he said, we're really hoping to land something special here. We'd like to reward our top staff and leadership. I heard there might be a way to access your family and staff level pricing, given some personal ties. Personal ties? I repeated. Can you explain what you mean? Well, he said, my wife is related to someone in your organization. I was under the impression there might be some flexibility, a way to treat our upper team like extended family for pricing purposes. My manager was watching me through the glass of my office. He raised his eyebrows slightly. This was the moment. I kept my voice steady. For our company, I said, the family and staff program is very specific. It's for employees and their immediate household, spouses, children living at home. It's capped and monitored. We don't extend it to outside partners, even if there are personal relationships. So there's no way to, he started. To apply the family program to a corporate chain? I finished politely. No, that would go against policy. What we can do is offer you a very strong partner package, bulk discounts, seasonal promotions, custom bundles, all within our official framework. There was a brief silence. I understand, he said slowly. I just thought with, family, there might be room to talk. I completely get why you'd ask, I said. And then I added very calmly, but in my role here, I have to treat family the way the company defines it, not just as a word people use when they want something, but as a clear category. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair to the staff who actually qualify. On the other side of the glass, my manager gave a small nod of approval. We went on to build a good, solid deal. They got decent discounts. Our company got a strong partner. No one was cheated, no one was exploited. It was fair, normal. But it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't the extra secret advantage they thought they'd get because family. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. I was wrong. That evening, as I packed up to go home, my phone lit up with missed calls from Claire, then a text. We need to talk. See, I called her back in the parking lot. She answered instantly. What is wrong with you? She snapped. No greeting. Hi, Claire, I said. Good to hear from you too. Don't do that, she said. Don't play cute. I just got off the phone with Eric. He told me all about your little meeting. My work call, I said. Yes, I was there. It's literally my job. You shut him down, she said. You made him sound stupid in front of your boss. You pretended you didn't know what he was talking about. You could have helped us, Lena. I leaned against my car. I did help, I said. I gave him the best deal I could within policy. I did what I do for any partner. I just didn't break the rules for him. You didn't even try, she spat. You didn't push. You didn't ask for an exception. You didn't say, hey, this is my family. Can we do something special? I'm not going to risk my job for you, I said, my voice low. You might see this as numbers on a page, but this is how I pay my rent. This is what I've built. I'm not throwing it away because you want more. You chose your job over your family, she shot back. I let that sit for a moment. No, I said finally. I chose my integrity over being used. There's a difference. She laughed bitterly. You're punishing me for that stupid dinner. That stupid dinner is the night you told me, to my face in front of everyone, that there was no seat for me at your table, I said. That it was mainly for people who have really been there for you. Like I hadn't spent years doing the invisible work nobody clapped for. You were late, she said. The restaurant had rules. And my company has rules, I replied. You want me to ignore mine, but you want yours to be taken as gospel. You know what? She said. Fine. When you need something, when you finally realize you burned your only bridge to something bigger, don't come running to me. Don't suddenly remember I'm your sister. I won't, I said quietly. She hung up. My hands were shaking, but for the first time, I didn't feel like I was the one in the wrong. Weeks passed. The partnership went through on standard terms. Life resumed its rhythm. I went to work. I came home. I made simple dinners in my small kitchen. I drew on the weekends. My phone stayed mostly silent. Then, one afternoon, I got a call at work. 2 visitors at the front asking for me. Who is it? I asked the receptionist. A Claire and an Eric, she said. They say it's family. Of course. I walked out to the customer area, and there they were. Claire in a nice coat and heels, Eric beside her. They looked slightly out of place among the regular shoppers. Hi, I said. You're here? We need help, Claire said, cutting straight to it. Her voice was tight. Our other supplier fell through. We need to furnish the guest rooms and the extra living space. We're behind schedule. We heard that if we come in person, staff sometimes have extra options. Eric added, and we were hoping maybe, as family, you could apply some of those internal discounts. Just this once. Help us out. Family. The word felt different now. I nodded slowly. I can definitely help you find good deals, I said. We have public promotions today, clearance items, bundle discounts. I'll walk you through all of that. And the family and staff program? Claire pressed. I met her eyes. The family and staff discount is for employees and the people they share a home with, I said. It's tied to who's actually supporting that person day to day. I can't use it for large partner purchases. I can't just hand it out because someone shares my last name or married into my family. Lena, she said, lowering her voice. Come on, we're under a lot of pressure. This house is a big step for us. Just this once. No one has to know. I would know, I said. And my company would know. It's tracked. If I break that rule, I can lose everything I've worked for. So that's it? She demanded. You're really going to say no to your own sister over a discount? If it was just a discount, this wouldn't hurt as much, I said. But it's more than that. I pulled my staff badge out of my pocket, turning it in my hand. When I swipe this, I said, I'm saying, these are my people, this is my household. These are the ones who stand by me when there's no audience. I slipped it back in my pocket. You made it very clear what family means to you when you left me sitting alone at that dinner. Today, I'm just matching that honesty. She stared at me, stunned. The discount, I said quietly, is only for family. She swallowed hard, and for a moment, I saw something crack in her expression. You've changed, she whispered. Maybe I finally started treating myself the way I always wished you would, I replied. In the end, I still helped them. I walked them through the aisles. I showed them clearance section deals, smart bundles, ways to save using regular sales and coupons. I answered all their questions. I did it with the same effort I give any customer, but I didn't bend. I didn't swipe my badge. I didn't twist anything. I did my job, and that was enough. At checkout, as the cashier rang up their items, Claire looked at me. I never thought you'd be able to shut me out like that, she said softly. Funny, I said. I thought the exact same thing about you, on that rooftop. She flinched. They paid, they left. Eric turned back at the last second, told me quietly that I was good at what I did. I said thank you. Claire said nothing. Time passed. People love to say time heals everything. That's not true. Time just gives you space. What you do with that space is what matters. In that space, my mom called me. We had a real conversation, not a guilt trip, a real one. She admitted she'd been unfair, that she'd chosen Claire's comfort over my feelings too many times, that she should have spoken up at the dinner and didn't. She didn't try to excuse herself. She owned it. She asked me what had really happened with the discount. I told her, every detail, how the policy worked, what I would have risked, how I still helped them even after saying no to the special treatment. And for the first time, she said, you were right to protect yourself. She asked me if I'd ever talked to Claire. I said maybe, but only if it wasn't about money. Only if it wasn't about getting something from me. Only if it was just two people trying to understand each other. Months later, on a quiet Sunday, there was a knock on my apartment door. It was Claire. No makeup, no fancy dress, just jeans and a sweater. She looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. Hi, she said. Hi, I replied. Can I come in? She asked. I thought about all the times I'd sat outside her life, waiting to be invited in. Then I stepped aside. Yeah, I said. Come in. We sat at my small table with mugs of tea between us. The silence was thick, but not as hostile as it had once been. I've been thinking about that night, she said finally. The rooftop? I asked. She nodded. Yeah, I told myself it was about logistics, that you were late, that the restaurant was strict, that I didn't really have a choice. She swallowed. But I did. I just chose not to use it. I stayed quiet. If I had really, truly wanted you at that table, she said, I would have made it work. I could have stood between courses. I could have begged the manager. I could have traded seats. I didn't because I liked the feeling of controlling who got to be seen with me. And I didn't think you fit. The honesty hurt, but it was real. You treated me like an extra, I said softly. Like I didn't belong. I did, she said, and it was cruel. We let those words sit there. She took a deep breath. I've spent my whole life trying not to look weak, she said. Not to look poor or lost or unsure. And you reminded me of real life, of the parts I wanted to hide. So instead of dealing with that, I pushed you away. I made you smaller in my head so I didn't have to face my own fears. I thought you just looked down on me, I admitted. I did, she said quietly, because it was easier to look down than to look in a mirror. We talked about the discount, the store, the day she and Eric came in. I told myself you were being spiteful, she said. But then I really thought about it. If your boss had found out you were misusing that program, it would be your neck on the line, not mine, not Eric's, yours. And I realized I was willing to let you carry that risk for me. That's not what a decent sister does. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. I went to therapy, she blurted out. Before you think I just magically grew a conscience. I almost laughed. Good, I said. She helped me see how I use people, she said. How I turn relationships into ladders. I did it with you more than anyone, because I thought you'd always be there, that you'd always say yes. And when you didn't, when you told me the discount was only for family, her voice shook. It was the first time I realized I wasn't acting like your family at all. We sat there with that. I'm not here to ask you for anything, she said. No money, no deals, no favors. I'm just here to ask if there's any chance we can try again, differently. I'm not going back to how it was, I said. I can't unlearn what I've learned about myself. I can't just shrink so you'll be comfortable. I don't want you to, she said. I want the version of you who told me no. The one who looked me in the eye and said, that's not okay. I want to learn how to be a sister to her, not to the kid who worshipped me. That hit something deep in me. I don't know what that looks like yet, I admitted. Maybe it looks like coffee sometimes, she said, or sending each other dumb memes, or talking about your life without me trying to fix it or rank it against mine. I don't know. I just know I miss you. The real you, not the role I put you in. I stared at her for a long time. I can't promise quick forgiveness, I said. I can't promise I won't get angry again when I remember certain things. That's fair, she said. I'm not asking for a clean slate. I'm asking for a chance to earn back something. Okay, I said quietly. We can try. Relief crossed her face. We didn't magically become best friends overnight. There was no movie moment montage of us laughing and taking selfies. We texted sometimes. We met for coffee. We argued once and handled it better than before. We slowly, awkwardly tried to build something real. Not the performance of sisterhood, the practice of it. When I look back at it all now, the dinner, the humiliation, the discount, the argument, the quiet months, the talk at my table, I don't see a simple revenge story. Yes, a part of me wanted her to feel what I felt. And in that store, when I told her, sorry, the discount's only for family, a small part of me felt a sharp satisfaction. But the part that really mattered wasn't the sting. It was what came after. I learned that sometimes the only way people truly see the harm they've done is when they're finally on the other side of it. And I learned something else too. Family isn't the people who raise a glass and say the word the loudest. Family is the people who make room for you. The ones who keep a chair for you even when you're late. The ones who don't just remember you when they need something. Family is who shows up for your small wins, not just their big nights. Family is who you can't use words like discount, favor, and advantage to manipulate because you respect them too much. So when someone in your life throws family at you like a key to every locked door, you're allowed to ask, are you using that word because you live it or because it benefits you right now? And if the answer is the second one, you're allowed to do what I did. You're allowed to protect your job, your peace, and your self-respect. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to step back from tables where there is never a chair for you. You're allowed to say, with a steady voice, I'm sorry. That version of me, the one you can use, is no longer available. The discount is only for family. Not the kind of family they claim to be. The kind of family they actually prove they are.